Phil Spencer has made a comment about the fact that Xbox games are going to PlayStation 5, including Indiana Jones. And long story short, his response is, "We're a business." Let's dive into his statements, play back the clip, and react to it, and discuss what this means for the Xbox brand going forward. Now, I have the official live stream up here, and I clipped out the segment in question where he is asked about what this means for the future of the Xbox brand. And there were a few segments I wanted to go through and discuss with you because there is a lot more being indicated in this interview than I think meets the eye, so to speak. So let's dive into it and listen to a few of the statements that he has made about this whole situation.
Going to the PlayStation announcement, obviously last spring, we launched 4 games, 2 of them on the Switch, 4 of them on PlayStation, and we said we're going to learn. We said we'd watch. I think at Showcase, I might have said from our learning, we're going to do more. Mm-hmm.
Now, that's completely accurate. He did say that. He did say they're going to watch and do more. And just a reminder, that was 6 months ago. So in 6 months, they must have learned a lot, and it indicates that those games releasing on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch must have done tremendously well. At least in the Sea of Thieves example, we know it was literally the #1 best-selling game on the PlayStation 5 for the month of May. At least that's what I remember reading as I was doing a little bit of research for this video today. He also indicated Indiana Jones would not be one of those games 6 months ago. So I have to imagine that the astronomical success of porting those games to other platforms has meant that we're going to see more of this in the near future. And my personal takeaway from the whole situation is, oh yeah, Starfield's next, because he said not into your Starfield, but when you have a finite amount of console players that you can sell to and PC players, and you're sitting there looking at the 60 million potential sales that you would get on PlayStation, especially after the success of Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I bet that's what they're going to do going forward. But it does leave me wondering, like, what does that mean for their strategy? For me personally, I think it further bolsters my idea of they're going to have a more open box in the near future because they don't seem to care about exclusives nearly as much as they used to. You know, Doom, The Dark Ages is releasing on multiple platforms. And at the time when Bethesda was purchased, Phil Spencer said this is about getting exclusive games in places where Game Pass exists. Well, clearly, that has not been the case. That has not been what has transpired. And I think we're going to see more and more of these games release multi-platform as they're spending $300 million to make a game. I believe Brad Sams commented something similar in his reaction to this interview. But let's continue on because the next segment gets a little bit juicy.
What I see when I look is our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players are as high this year as they've ever been. Amazing.
Now, I just want to say real quick, he specifies our Xbox console players in that segment. I had missed that part initially, and it made me wonder if Phil Spencer and the Microsoft CEOs at Xbox also consider PlayStation players to be Xbox players at this point. Now, he is specifying the console in this segment, but he leaves that bit out later on. And when you're at 500 million monthly active users, and we know the Xbox consoles that are still operating have basically a cap of like 80 million. It's interesting to hear that they have an active console base, but only 30 or so million of those would be on Xbox Series X and S, and that console has seemed to sort of flatlined in terms of its sales progression, and it doesn't seem to be seeing exponential growth as they announce, you know, sales reductions. So I think they landed in a spot where they just need to recoup that financial aspect, and he's going to get to that in just a second, but let's continue on with this console statistic.
So I look at it and I say, okay, our player numbers are going up for the console platform. Our franchises are as strong as they've ever been. And we run a business. Like, it's definitely true inside of Microsoft. The bar is high for us in terms of the delivery that we have to give back to the company, because we get a level of support from the company that's just amazing in what we're able to go do. So I look at this, how can we make our games as strong as possible?
Now, We're a business. Now, I think that paints a pretty dang clear picture about their strategy going forward. At least it does for me. I don't think anything's really going to remain exclusive for the near future. I think they're going to continue doing this short window. And a big part of the reason why I believe that is because we're already seeing PlayStation release games on PC. I actually did an interview with all of the big analysts over on IGN who talked about what's going to happen with Nintendo. Well, Nintendo is going to franchise out more of their IP to make television shows and expand their revenue that direction. PlayStation is going to work more towards having day and date on PC. I imagine that whatever the Jade Raymond project is going to be will also release day and date on PC, just as Concord did this year. Granted, Concord doesn't seem like it's going to do tremendously well, unfortunately for them. But I mean, that released day and date on PC. And I think that is a strategy going forward. And for Xbox, what that means is, hey, we're going to have this very short exclusivity window, and we're going to be bringing more of our games to PlayStation. It's very clear that 6 months ago, when he said it wouldn't be Indie or Starfield, everybody points out that he was referring to those 4 games that he was bringing at that time. But you don't develop a game for a whole other platform in a 6-month period of time. Like that just doesn't, that's just not a thing. That's not how game development works. So he knew that Indiana Jones would be developed for PlayStation 5 at that period of time. And I think the rumors are true about everything at this point. So at this point, I do believe, I am left believing that everything Xbox is going to do is going to wind up on the PlayStation 5. And that puts the hardware in a bit of a tricky position. So strategy with this announcement just seems strange to me, but the thing that further bolsters my idea is what he says going forward.
Our platform continues to grow both on console, on PC, and on cloud. And I think it's just going to be a strategy that works for us. And the last thing I'll probably say is I think as an industry right now, there's a lot of pressure on the industry. It's been growing for a long time, and now people are looking for ways to grow. And I think that us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate there's going to be more change.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be more change. He's saying it plain as day. Hey, look, console players, I'm a console player too. Yeah, we're just not going to do exclusives anymore. Satya Nadella said to the FTC he doesn't like exclusives. Phil Spencer doesn't seem to like exclusives. At the end of the day, honestly, it's kind of a smart strategy. Have PlayStation give you 70% of the revenue that they generate from Xbox games. PlayStation makes more money. Xbox makes more money. And honestly, I think this idea of having a console and having exclusives on it, I think it's just going to go away. PlayStation's already expanding into PC. Nintendo's always going to do their own thing, and maybe they're the last one standing at the end of all this. But it is also a little bit concerning that we're working towards a future where it's just PlayStation and Nintendo. Look at what's going on right now where it's only 3. Imagine when it's only 2. Like games are $70 now. And I do wonder what the end point is going to wind up being for the consumer at the end of the day. And that's always been my focus. It's like, what does this mean for the consumer? Okay, Xbox decides they're going to release all their games multi-platform. They're going to have basically a short exclusivity window on console. Well, is that going to have a negative impact or a positive impact for the next console generation? Are you going to run out and buy the next generation of Xbox knowing that, hey, these games are going to likely wind up on PlayStation one day or another? I have to imagine if you're a PlayStation gamer or a PC gamer, you have been given fewer reasons to purchase that next piece of hardware. And I do wonder if this ends up showing a little bit less excitement for whatever ends up getting announced. But on the other hand, if they do the open box concept that I've been talking about, and I'll keep talking about until you're tired of hearing about it, if they do that open box concept, are they ahead of the curve? PlayStation's already porting everything to PC, so you're going to have an Xbox where potentially you could just boot PlayStation games and everybody's like, oh, they could block it. It's just going to be a PC with a different interface. Like that's all they're going to do. They're going to make a fancy interface, but it's a PC. And maybe like the Steam Deck, if you're tech savvy, you can just install Windows on it and run it that way. So I'm really curious about whatever the next generation of hardware is going to be. But let's hear the last of his statement here.
and how some of the traditional ways that games were built and distributed, that's going to change. That's going to change for all of us. But the end result has to be better games that more people can play. If we're not focused on that, I think we're focused on the wrong things. So for us as Xbox, health of Xbox, health of our platform, and our growing games, most important things.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
And they go on to talk about how big their booth is for a while and how cool it is to have all their partners there. It's a trade show, like that's their job, to talk about business and everything. But the full clip, I'm going to link to the time code where it starts, because they say something at the beginning and then they go right into praising
we also saw the news about
Indiana
PlayStation
Jones
as well, which is really cool. I'm really interested in that. So I want to know how this connects back to Xbox's perspective on how and when this approach happens to other titles.
I mean, I'll start just saying...
Yeah, he talks about Indiana Jones is great, whatever. But then he goes right into the PlayStation 5 statement and why they're thinking about it. And long story short, he laments that, like, we're a business and businesses need to make money. Line must go up in business. So for me, this is a very clear indication that I would say almost all games from Xbox are going to wind up on other platforms. We'll see what ends up happening with franchises like Gears and Halo, but Forza Horizon 5, that was rumored recently. I see no reason why that wouldn't go to PlayStation. Avowed eventually, like why would that not release multi-platform? It doesn't really make sense to develop that game on PC. I just did a preview for IGN and it's actually looking great. Why not port that to PlayStation 5? That doesn't really make any sense. Like that's obviously not going to be a Call of Duty level sales game. So why not say, hey, 60 million more people, take a crack at it? And I do wonder how the community is going to react to that. For me personally, here's the thing. I own all the consoles. So like if an amazing game comes out on one platform, I'm going to play it there. And if it's exclusive to the PlayStation, I'll be able to play it there. PlayStation doesn't really have anything that I particularly need to play on PlayStation right now, because I can just play it on the PC. Like even Concord, which I realize isn't a great example, but that's available on Steam. And that's going to continue for that brand. So for me, I'm sitting in a great spot. I can just play every single game that comes out on the PC platform. And I do wonder what value proposition is going to be offered, both from PlayStation, also from Nintendo, and from Xbox for the next generation. Nintendo has tentpole exclusives that will never leave their console, right? Like it's just not going to happen. They've really figured out their profit margins and how to invest properly and just maintain a healthy amount of profit that they're happy with, versus PlayStation, who's like, man, we really got to make more money. And Xbox is like, we're not making enough money. We just spent $70 billion on Activision. Like we got to figure out how to sell all these games. And to do that, they're going to expand into other markets. Oh yeah, sorry. This ended up being a little bit more rambly than I thought it would be, but there were a few reactions I wanted to go to about this. And these are all from like Shinobi's post on the situation. So he posted the same clip we just watched. The CRT podcast said, so going forward, absolutely no reason to buy an Xbox. Why would you when you can buy a PlayStation and play everything? They don't need you to buy one. And that mentality is why Xbox is in the position it's in. So that's one reaction. I mean, honestly, for the longest time, I've always said, yeah, you don't need to buy an Xbox. Microsoft doesn't care where you play. And now it's more apparent than ever because they are releasing their games on competing platforms. Zenkai Goose, I did a reaction to one of his videos. Nice guy. He said, he said, I'd be curious to learn more about what metric makes our franchises getting stronger. Halo is dead. Gears is trying to be revived. Forza's dead. Horizon, Sea of Thieves, and Minecraft are the only ones I can think that are thriving. I mean, it's a quite negative outlook, but I have to say that I don't think Halo's dead. It's definitely in a lull because that game came out 2 years ago, but it would be nicer to see that there were more players basically playing Halo Infinite. Because if you look on Steam, there are about 2,000 concurrents usually right now. Forza, yeah, again, not dead, but those games are definitely not where Microsoft wants them to be. I think dead is a little dramatic, but they could be doing better, certainly. Creative Monster says, I really want to know how much it costs for that Disney license. I really think that plays a factor into why it's not exclusive. Just speculating, not console war stuff. Yeah, my whole video is just speculation and talking about this is a big story. This is a console manufacturer who got into the business to release console games. They've expanded to everything else, and now they're expanding to their competing platforms. It's unprecedented. Nobody's really done that before. I like a PlayStation first-party game coming out on Xbox. Like, I think everybody would be like, what? Like, surprised equally as much as Xbox franchises going to PlayStation. DeLaurentis said, translating, investors demanding more game sales and larger profits after spend $77 billion, ZeniMax, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard King. I mean, he's not wrong. That's definitely true. They definitely need to remake the games. I saw a lot of people say, give me Halo on PlayStation. Honestly, like, if you're going to go full on release everywhere, just do it. Go for it. Like, if your play is basically becoming a third party, who cares at this point? Put everything everywhere. Why not? Like, I'm left in a position where I'm just like really interested in this strategy. And my only question is, why wait for anything else? Clearly, there's more revenue to be made by releasing your games on that additional platform. Why not just go full slate? So they made it clear that's what they want to do. Play wherever you want. Gaming is meant to be about fun. I've seen that sentiment a lot. People think like I'm freaking out because Xbox is losing exclusives or something like that. Again, I own everything and I play most of my games on PC anyway. I played Hellblade 2 on PC. So like, I don't particularly care personally what happens to the box, but this is an industry shift unlike anything we've really seen. The Terrible says, there is no way that was his strategy before the rest of the board came down to him to make up that $69 billion purchase that has yet to improve sales for Xbox consoles, or really as a brand. Anything less than a major increase in those numbers, and the board will oust him. I mean, I don't know about all that, but I think that they're making a pretty drastic shift in their strategy going forward. And I'm Too West Coast says, play wherever you want to play. I mean, at the end of the day, if PlayStation players are going to get Xbox games and they're going to play them and love them, just like they have with Sea of Thieves, that's kind of great. Maybe it will, at the end of the day, end up revitalizing what Xbox is into the future. And the real story here is that every analyst I've spoken to said the walls are coming tumbling down. Games are too expensive to make, and they need to recoup that profit margin in order to remain sustainable. It just, like, even on the PlayStation 5, they're releasing most of those games on the PlayStation 4 because that increases their sell-through potential to like 170 million people versus 60. Would you rather have the opportunity to sell your product to 170 million people or 60 million? I mean, the math is very simple. If your product can be made so that it works on all of those devices, of course, that's what you're going to want to do. Anyway, that's what Phil Spencer said. His statement, we're a business. There's going to be more change. You better get used to it. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that was my takeaway. And I'm like, all right, well, that's honesty. That's being truthful. Yes, we're bringing this game. We're going to bring more games, and the industry is changing, and we as gamers should really get used to this new paradigm shift. Is paradigm shift the right way to say it? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell if you like seeing my videos. I do greatly appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. I went 19 minutes. I can't believe it. Thank you so much to the members. I really do appreciate you. Click that join button right down there. I do appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. I really got to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody. Check out what I'm talking about with that console thing. I know I keep pointing to it, but I have a theory about where Xbox is going and why they don't care about the exclusive as much. Bye for now, everybody.